Hi everyone, thanks for joining our webinar this afternoon where we go through Conga's October release. We're going to show you a few of the products that we have made some movement on in this last month. Of course, we're always making updates and changes, and so these are just some of the highlights from this month. Today we'll have Natasha Roloff, our Director of Global Solutions Delivery, as well as Eric Budd, Product Evangelist for Conga ActionGrid. So with that, I will go ahead and jump right in. If you do have any questions, please use the question bar over to the right-hand side. We will be taking questions at the end. I am also recording this webinar and will send a link to those that anyone that registered at the end of the session.
I can't see the slide. So this is Eric. I wanted to talk about a few things that we've been working on for our ActionGrid product. One of the big things that we want to continue to solve for new customers is getting set up and showing the power of ActionGrid as quick as possible. And there are two ways that we've really identified to do that. One, if you're kind of new to Salesforce and you don't have a lot of customizations, we set up what we call ActionGrid templates. And those templates, the purpose is to take, right now we're starting with 4 of the top usage cases that we've identified that we think a lot of customers can see a lot of value in very quickly. And those are usage cases related to account management, sales team management, case management, and also Salesforce admin type of activities. And the second tool that we're providing for in our quick start is a way to convert existing Salesforce setup that you may have if you've been using Salesforce for some time. A lot of companies will set up apps, list views, reports, and we want to give tools to people to be able to take the existing work that's been put into those and convert those into ActionGrid views and setups so that you can easily get up and running without putting a whole lot of extra time into setting up ActionGrid. So let's see. So I would like to give you a little bit of a demo. What you would see if you're setting up ActionGrid for the first time, you would be going to the ActionGrid Quick Start menu. And again, there's 2 options for setting up ActionGrid, as I mentioned. So assuming we haven't used ActionGrid before and we haven't really built out our Salesforce, I might want to start with these quick templates. And you can see, here are the various templates that we've set up to start with. And I'm just going to pick one of these and run through the install process. So as you can see, this is just a little screenshot preview of kind of what you'll be getting after you install this. And then a quick description of, kind of the accounts and the types of activities you may be doing with this grid. So if I go through my install process, I've got a few dialog boxes to click through here. And then now that's actually going to do all of the setup for this Sales AG tab up here. I've kind of skipped ahead just to keep this quick, but it'll create a new tab for you that you can now click into. And without any additional setup, this is really made to do kind of a default sales team setup where you may be organizing leads, opportunities, accounts, kind of that whole workflow, and the ability to monitor tasks. And the idea with ActionGrid is you can have a really powerful multi-object type of view where you've got really that whole sales workflow right at your fingertips. So you may have some people on your sales team that are just managing leads, some people that are managing opportunities, or some people that are managing kind of the creations of the accounts. And this view is really going to be a powerful flow, through all of those. You may have several people working on this, or you may have just one person working on this whole flow. But it quickly is going to give you the ability to look at related data in line. So on the left you have opportunities, and on the right you have opportunity products, for an example. So that's really the power of these templates, is to be able to get kind of starting with the expertise that we've had and working with a lot of customers and setting up an action grid that's really very functional right out of the start. So if I go back to the quick start, and let's say I'm interested in setting up action grid a different way. Well, so importing from our existing Salesforce. So assuming you have a lot of existing list views or apps or reports set up, we've given 4 tools to really start and do this very quickly. And I'm going to demo one of these, but I'll talk about all of these. So using an existing Salesforce app, if you have an app set up, you can just select the app, and what that's going to do is take all of the list views in that app and build action grid views out of those. And then if you want to use your existing list views, this flow is going to allow you to do that on an object basis. To, let's say, I want to convert all of the list views for a particular object. This would be the one that you would want. If you have a number of Salesforce reports, the Salesforce report converter that we built is still kind of in beta, but it's really helpful for people that have spent a lot of time building out reports, which can be fairly complex. And then the last tool to get ActionGrid up and running is a pretty nifty tool that we've developed. What it's going to do is it's going to scan the objects and fields in your Salesforce instance, and it's going to give you some options to really build out views based on what fields are most used, and kind of really a do-it-yourself kind of tool. And this is one you might want to use if you have a lot of custom objects and things that are a bit non-standard. So I'll just do a quick demo of converting some list views. So what I would do is I would select, in this case I'm going to select the count object and hit create list views. And what that's going to do is it's going to go through all of the list views associated with that account object, and it's going to make action grid views out of those. So in the instance of time, what that would do is create a new tab. I've already got my tab here, and it's converted all of those list views. So this may not be an option that you want to use if you have hundreds of list views for a particular object, but the idea is to really get up and running very quickly. So now what I can do, if I go to this Action Grid tab, you'll notice that all of my views for this object are going to be quickly imported in. And the way that ActionGrid switches views is if I go up in this view drop-down, I had 6 list views that were created, and now ActionGrid has taken the logic for those views, any of the fields that are associated with the view, any of the filtering, those kind of parameters, and it's ported them into ActionGrid. So I can pick any of these views, and I can see I can view these in ActionGrid, and I can say, okay, here are all of my accounts, and here's the setup, and I can toggle through these views very quickly. So in doing that, you're really getting the power of ActionGrid, being able to quickly update data in line, mass updating, quick filtering, and really the power of ActionGrid in really just a few minutes. So I think I'm going to send this over for our next product demo here.
Hi everybody, I'm Natasha Roloff. I'm the Director of Global Solutions Delivery and also the Product Manager for Conga Redlining. So we recently introduced and debuted Conga Redlining at Dreamforce last week, and this is actually the first customer-facing demo that we're providing. So thank you everybody for joining us today. So a couple of key highlights as to what Conga Redlining does. It manages the negotiation process, as well as allows you to do in-browser document version comparison. It significantly reduces email communication because you're able to send contracts and documents from Salesforce with an email tracking thread very similar to the native Salesforce email to case functionality that allows you to automatically update versions of documents directly in Salesforce, easily viewing changes, again, the in-browser version comparison, and then maintaining a full contract history, so creating a nice audit trail that's accessible from Salesforce of version control and where a contract resides in its execution process. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to demo. So we have two personas for this demo. The first persona is Sal, our sales guy. He is a corporate sales rep who has been pre-approved by his legal team to make certain changes without needing to escalate to his legal team for approval. So for example, business term changes he's allowed to negotiate on. Our second persona for the demo is Paul, our prospect, who is our counterparty that we'll be sending our document to. So starting in Salesforce, Sal has reached the stage in his opportunity where he's ready to send Paul an MSA or Master Services Agreement for review. So I've already uploaded that document to the record in Salesforce. If you're a Conga Composer customer, this is where we would just simply save a created document within the Salesforce repository. I'm going to go ahead and hit Send for Negotiation. So we're going to select an email recipient, Paul, a template, and type a short message. So if we scroll down here, we see that we've automatically attached the original document that we had on our record. I'm going to go ahead and hit Send. So now I'm going to flip over to Paul, our prospect, who is receiving this document within his email, just as he would normally conduct business as usual. I'm going to go ahead and open that document, as well as the MSA. So as Paul, as I'm reading through this agreement, I notice in the payment terms that we're being requested to pay due net 30 days, and my company prefers due net 45 whenever possible. So I'm going to go ahead and make that change. I also notice a section here that's asking me to pay interest on accruing balance. I don't like that at all, so I'm just going to delete it altogether. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save, exit out of Word, and send my changes back to Sal. So I'll go ahead and send that off. I'm going to flip back to my Salesforce persona. And we see here in the activity, this is proprietary to Conga Redlining. So this is a combination of the standard Salesforce activities that you're used to seeing, things like inbound and outbound email, tracking calls, activities, etc. But we've added some additional functionality of uploading and versioning documents. So I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh. Sometimes it takes just a second to come back in through email. So I'm going to try that one more time and send again. I really apologize. I'm going to switch to a record that I completed just before the demo to show you guys what that inbound email would look like. So here what we see is the inbound email attachment, and we've automatically recognized that we've uploaded a new version to the Salesforce repository. So in the original Send for Negotiation email, what we do is we insert a unique tracking thread ID, and when that email comes back in, a combination of an 80% or better match to the file name plus that tracking thread allows us to automatically recognize that we have a new version of a document and update the repository in Salesforce directly. So at this point, we'd want to see what kind of changes were made to the document. So I'm going to click on View Redlines. So we see down here the section that's been deleted from the previous email message from our prospect, Paul. So I have a couple of options at this point. I could immediately send this document for e-signature from Salesforce if I'm okay accepting these changes and sending on for execution. I could also continue to keep this negotiation process going in Salesforce, make the changes to the document, and send for negotiation again. I could also leverage the native approval processes in Salesforce if I needed to escalate to another point for verification and continue my process that way. And I think at this point we'd like to open up the floor to any questions.
Okay, we do have a couple of questions. Eric, I have a question for you about ActionGrid. For the scan functionality, when is it going to be live, or is it already available?
Yeah, so all the things I've demoed today are in the next release that we're currently in the process of putting out to customers. So we have kind of a phased release where next week we will be putting this version on the App Exchange, and we'll be pushing to existing customer sandboxes so they can get a preview of the release. And then 2 weeks from now, we will be pushing this to existing customers in their production systems. So next week, if you want, you can go to the App Exchange and download this and start playing with it.
Thanks. Natasha, I have one for you regarding redlining. Can I send the document to multiple people in one go, and if they send them back at the same time, do all the copies merge together?
The copies do not merge together. It's not really collaborative editing. What you would have is you would have the copies received within Salesforce and updated with individual versions.
Perfect, thank you. Is the e-sign via DocuSign?
We're e-signature agnostic, so you could be using Certify, Adobe Sign, DocuSign, etc.
Is Conga redlining only available in Lightning?
No, it also works in Classic.
How does it move through the Salesforce approval process?
So you would set up the Salesforce standard approval processes just like you would for anything else. There's no direct tie-in at this time to the redlining functionality, but essentially what you're doing is you have a record in Salesforce that you could use the redlining functionality for document version comparison and then simultaneously use the native Salesforce approval processes.
Thank you. Another question for you, Eric. Does ActionGrid work with custom objects?
Yes, ActionGrid does. ActionGrid really treats custom objects just like any other Salesforce built-in object. And that also goes for custom fields and record types, etc.
Perfect. For you, Natasha, could you, for the person who's asking about the document comparison, we're running a little bit short on time and a lot of questions, but we will absolutely follow up with you if you wanted to see a more personalized demo. And that really goes for anyone on the phone. If there is something particular you wanted to see with either ActionGrid or with Conga redlining, please feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to your account manager. You'll receive a follow-up email either today or tomorrow with a recording video. You can reply to that email. Or if you were interested in redlining in particular, you can also use this redlining@getconga.com alias. Are you looking, Eric, this is for you. Are you looking to allow ActionGrid to trigger a redline option? I guess either for Natasha or Eric.
Sure. You know, currently as we are in beta, you know, we are, you can still initiate a redline option through clicking through from ActionGrid into a particular record, but we're continuing to work on our integrations so that you'll really be able to launch different functions from any of our existing products, Composer, contracts, redlining, right from ActionGrid.
Thank you. Natasha, will redlines work with the Novatus product?
So let's see. I'll speak to a couple of things there. So if you are using Sales Connect in conjunction with the Conga Novatus product, yes, you can absolutely use the redlining functionality from the Salesforce platform. A very similar redlining functionality also already exists in the core Novatus product, so I think you would just use each depending on which product you were working in.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm going through as many of these questions as I can. Are the redlining documents saved in notes and attachments of Salesforce Opportunity or in a custom object?
They are saved in the standard notes and attachments and files, content objects in Salesforce.
Awesome. This is in regards to future state of ActionGrid. This question says, I heard an additional update will occur before the end of the year that would include easier template creation and possibly troubleshooting of templates through more user-friendly changes to the UI. Is that true?
When you're referring to template creation, I'm assuming that's for ActionGrid templates, and that is true. So this is really the first launch in which we're putting out the debut of our first 4 templates that I was demoing today. So right now that's what we're starting with, but we're going to continue to look to expand to add additional templates as these usage cases arise as being you know, top type of usages that we can do right out of the box. That being said, ActionGrid is extremely customizable, so if you have particular different use cases, like you want to add more custom objects, you can take any of those templates that we have and you can add custom objects in very easily by just, there's a little plus button that you can add them, either add related lists or add different views. The other thing is Conga does offer services packages, so if you're interested in building something out that's maybe a bit beyond what your Salesforce admins are comfortable doing, we offer services to do that as well.
And then I just saw your response that was actually a Conga Composer question. That is something that is planned for early next year. So yes, all things that are in the works, but for early next year, not necessarily end of this year. We have just a couple minutes left. If there are any other questions, please let me know. If you asked a question and I didn't see it, they were all coming through pretty fast, please put your question in again. I see one that I missed. What do you anticipate the cost being for Conga redlining?
So Conga redlining is currently in beta. We're running a beta trial, so if you would like to participate in that, please send an email to redlining@getconga.com. And we're expecting to release for commercial availability in December at a list price of $18 per user per month.
Thank you. And there's same question for ActionGrid.
The cost for ActionGrid is on a per user per month basis, and that is at $18 per user per month as well.
I have a question on, does ActionGrid work with communities?
Yes, it does.
I also have a question around, will there be a nonprofit discount? We do have a nonprofit discount across all of our products of a third off, so that would apply to Conga redlining as well as ActionGrid or any of our other solutions. Any additional questions as we wrap up here? If you do have questions that were not answered, please feel free to reach out to either the redlining@getconga.com alias if it's regarding Conga redlining, or you can reply to the email that'll come through thanking you for attending this session. We thank you very much for your time. I know everyone is very busy, so thanks for joining us as we looked at some of the new things coming through in the October release.